Over to you, Zima.
A warm welcome to all of you from me, Zima Sivadin, as a chair of Commonwealth Future. We have some housekeeping rules for this webinar. If you don't mind me saying, please keep your microphone muted during the session. We are recording this session, as you know. Thank you. A quick introduction about Commonwealth Future. We are a non-party political civic organization with specific focus on eye care correction and also in the field of optometry for the benefit of our future generations. This unique event, together we can create a better future today, is part of our series of discussions promoting the importance of eye care education through reading. We hope to extend our reach by advancing and actioning the first resolution adopted on vision by the United Nations, which aims to tackle avoidable sight loss and incorporate eye health within the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We hope to initiate further cooperation with national governments to establish a research database in eye care and a think tank for bringing together eye care experts and others to exchange ideas and stimulate conversations across the Commonwealth. And through these activities, to develop practical solutions and influence policy and practice. Commonwealth Future firmly believes eye care presents one of the most critical aspects of an individual's life. The ability to see is an advantage when accessing education and employment, and through these improvements, enhancing the means of subsistence. I'm very privileged to introduce very inspirational leaders for shaping communities and building momentum for eye care throughout the world. Together, we wish to build a team willing to create meaningful and lasting changes in clinical practice. Women have a proven track record as effective leaders at all levels throughout our community. There is a benefit to create greater capacity to ensure women and our younger generation are involved in greater contribution at all levels and are at the center of decision-making process. It is important to realize that preconceptions from our past can impact the present moment and advance into the future. We are directing our eyes towards an equal and meaningful representation in our community. Let me now introduce you to the Special Envoy for United Kingdom and Republic of Ireland for the United Nations Association of Ghana Commission for Women and Children Affairs, UNACWCA. Rudy Page will say a few words.
Thank you very much, Zima. Good evening, everyone. My name is Rudy Page, and I'm pleased to be associated with both the United Nations Association of Ghana Commission for Women and Children Affairs and Commonwealth Future London. The Sustainable Development Goals provide us with a framework and guidance for multi-stakeholder partnerships, working together by pooling their knowledge, intelligence, networks and skills. For us, implementation is key for attainment. Ultimately, we are all here to serve others and impact their lives for the better. Together, we can create a better future today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rudy. We are also honored and grateful for UNACWCA's acknowledgement of Commonwealth Future as a worthy partner in this webinar. The United Nations Association of Ghana Commission for Women and Children's Affairs is clearly an important body on the global stage. The best eye care is essential for promoting equality and empowerment of individuals. I now have great pleasure in introducing Her Excellency Jemima Agri Adukpo, the National Head of the UNACWCA.
Good evening, everyone. I count it as a great privilege to be part of this all-important subject. I am even more elated that this webinar has afforded me an opportunity to share and learn from our astute panelists and speakers. Sharing a stage with Professor Marshall, MBE, Professor James Wolfson, forgive me if I got the name wrong, Dr. Sunday Popola, an associate professor who doubles as a Goodwill Ambassador for UNACWCA, and particularly Dr. Marina Nani. It's a privilege I will forever cherish in my journey as women and children's advocate. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Yet such opportunities only to animate my interest in the welfare of women and children. I'm also excited about that, the great insights and expert opinions our speakers have shared or will share on the subject for our discussion. Some of the facts shared here will be revealing, I'm sure, and I must say I have learned, or I'll learn a great deal from the various inputs in this area as this discussion goes on. I could not have agreed more than this this is indeed such an opportunity during this webinar to discuss an all-important issue. Eye conditions and its impacts on people is common in Africa. It has been reported that while eye care services offered are significantly below demand, with coverage of eye care needs estimated at 15% to 20%, eye problems rank 6th to 8th among reasons for using health services in Africa. A review of eye clinic data 2012 here in Ghana showed that 50% of all eye diseases diagnosed, mainly conjunctivitis and refractive errors, could be managed at the primary level if trained eye health workers were available and appropriately equipped at this level. Many people at the community level often face various obstacles like transportation, poor road network, and financial constraints, and therefore do not have easy access to eye health professionals. Now, a recent Ghana National Population-Based Survey on Blindness and Visual Impairment has recorded 0.74% prevalence of blindness among all ages and 4% among people over 50 years. Now, for my readings on the subject, I have come to terms with quite some startling statistics on the severity and prevalence of this eye condition and how it affects especially girls and women. A study by the American Academy of Ophthalmology found that dry eye disease is most prevalent in older women. In terms of its effects on people, it is my understanding that dry eye in children can be irritating and painful, and in severe cases can affect vision, and that these symptoms have a particularly strong impact on children's lives, their education, by making it more difficult for them to perform school and study activities such as reading and using a computer. Capping a rather discomforting eye condition is the issue of cost of treatment. There are high costs associated with managing dry eye and conducting research to identify effective, safe, and long-term treatments. This serves to prevent people from accessing primary eye care services before conditions are advanced. Given the severity of this condition and its impacts on the social, psychological, and financial lives of women and children, I believe it will not be out of place to have a national conversation on how eye conditions can generally be prioritized in Ghana's health delivery system. These revealing statistics goes to prove the need for more advocacy and awareness on eye-related conditions, such as dry eye, With support, UNACWCA can get pediatric and cornea specialists to offer advice and screening services to the poor and vulnerable who will otherwise have no means of diagnosing and treatment. We can also facilitate national conversations on the subject and bring policymakers' attention to this all-important matter. Thanks for the opportunity to be part of this conversation. Looking forward to walking the many brilliant talk our abled resource persons will share on this matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that insight into EYECARE, and it's very nice to see that connection with the Commonwealth Future from the national head of the UNACWCA, and it's very nice to see you speaking all the way from Ghana. Thank you. We're going to now describe Dr. Marina, who is one of the most inspirational leaders I spoke to. I had the privilege of speaking to her a few days ago. Dr. Marina Nani is an inspirational leader who founded MTN Press, co-founded 8 niche publications, including Sovereign Global Magazine and Rich Woman Magazine. Her sort of ethos is to focus on the free from press prejudice and social conditioning that is around. And Marina is coining a new industry, social edification, which is advocating for building up purposeful leaders and helping women from around the world to make a significant difference within themselves, their industry and their community. I'm looking forward to hearing Dr. Marina speaking.
Wow, a very humbling experience being here tonight, and I would like to acknowledge the inspiration that led me on this path. And always there is a reason that is greater than we can even imagine, greater than our own life, that is leading us into the unknown and is making us curious about what is possible. What is possible when we reimagine the way we live, the way we treat each other, the way we treat ourselves. 200 years ago, Wendell Phillips was a great advocate for human rights and women's rights, said that what the gunpowder did for the war, the printing press has done for the mind. And if we look at the state of our world today, there is a lot of work we have to do. And I'm looking at purposeful leaders like Her Excellency Jemima, like Rudy Page, who is a massive inspiration for me and our community, Rich Woman Society. He is always making sure we understand and remind us why we are here. Because when it comes to navigate through the latest news, is becoming harder than ever to capitalize on the latest breaking stories and make media work for you. I mean, we are here to make a difference in the way the next door hero can see themselves. Self-perception is very, very important. And we showcase thousands of elite leaders, visionary scientists, icons, influencers, but our aim is to focus on the everyday heroes. The everyday hero for me is what is going to make change possible. And everyday heroes are people who are dedicating their life to finding and developing solutions that are right now are the perfect solution for the challenges we are facing. Because before the pandemic, people couldn't even understand why Rich Woman and why the Woman Reimagine, or why Rich Man and why the Modern Man Reimagine. But now everybody understands. Everybody understands that is a transferable formula, that remind you who you are destined to be. And as we look at the story, the power of the story, we are saying that sharing your story changes your story. I know it's a new generation of storytellers, but we are the custodian of your story. We make sure that your story is shared and your story is inspiring, and your story is inspiring not only the new generation, but people of all ages. I always view the people I interview as chosen visionaries leading from the future. And they come into our present life, like yourself, like Her Excellency, like Rudy Page, to show us what is possible, and help us reimagine our destiny as individual before we become anything else. Because our society is based on surviving the next challenge. And for most people, the biggest challenge is to leave the past behind, to start living in the present. And changing lives doesn't happen chasing opportunity. Changing lives happens only by becoming the opportunity you seek. And creating a better future is only possible through collaboration and inclusivity. And this is what I found at the organization that Her Excellency is running with such grace and vision. Bouncing back, building a more optimistic future starts with you and me. The 54 Commonwealth nations are working together to recognize the 2.4 billion citizens' dreams and inspire them to a better future. I want to say that your story never ends. I want to remind everyone that your story is yours. And yes, you have to put your name on it, but your story belongs to the world. The world is this amazing place where everybody needs to see themselves with a fresh pair of eyes. And I know it's a metaphor, but most of the time, the things you can't see with your naked eye are the things that matters. Seeing those people who are suffering, those who are in need of our help, is just a matter of seeing with our heart. And seeing with our heart is the only way into progress, into become compassionate, and to become efficient, and into becoming the light on somebody else's dark hour. I want to thank you again for this opportunity, and I would love to be given the opportunity to write about what is happening, about your work, and make sure that sharing your story is changing your story. And in saying that, is changing the story of those who depend on the way we manage our own stories. Thank you so much again for this opportunity, and please let me know how best I can help.
Thank you very much for that very thoughtful and very reflective presentation. And thank you so much for your kind offer to promote and talk about some of the things we're doing, and the work that all on our session are doing. Thank you, Dr. Marina. I would like to let you know about this remarkable man, Dr. Sunday Papaola. Much of his work has centered in the great expression of cultural ideas, social, political, and spiritual growth by spreading cultural understanding, and above all, encouraging the trust and confidence in people. Dr. Sunday, Associate Professor Sunday, is also the founder of an initiative called Creative Futures, Achieving Your Potential. Thank you, Dr. Sunday.
Thank you very much for that short introduction. I really appreciate that. Is it possible for me to share some slides?
Yes, if you wish, Dr. Sam.
I don't think I have the permission to do so. Okay, let me see. Okay, coming up. Right, thank you very much. Today I'm going to be talking about 21st century STEM education, as you've been rightly introduced. And I'm going to be, first of all, looking at what the Royal Academy of Engineers, one of their reports in 2007, it's been a while now, and their reason for that is to make UK the leading STEM innovation and business, and by addressing STEM skill within a diversity challenge and precision STEM. When I say STEM, that means science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. You could put another M and include medicine. All of these things I'm saying here require our eyes, require us to see what we are reading. Without our eyes, it's very difficult. Although technologies are developing, whereby blind people can read as much as people who can see normally. And coupled with that, the World Economic Forum have introduced quite a few of things that needs to be done in order to make sure that the world become a much better place. These are some of the skills that was introduced in 2015 and also 2020. And you could see there's 4 skills I've highlighted there, where critical thinking, creativity, judgment and decision making, and coordinating with others. All of these requires one to be able to read perfectly, to be able to communicate, to be able to collaborate, and to be able to do things with other people. And you can see this emotional intelligence also has been added lately, because we want to be able to read our emotion between ourselves to be able to react appropriately. Active listening is also a thing, and the cognitive flexibility. Again, this has got to do with our eye, with where we see other people, so that we can read them properly and be able to react to them. Martin Luther King II, or King Jr., says, the function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character, that's the goal of the true education. All of these things require you to be able to do this thing properly. This is another chart of the 21st century. You could see the competency bit, the foundational literacy, that's taught in school. The character quality, that's taught when you go out into industry. But there's this bit in the middle called the competency. That is hardly ever taught at all, which is the critical thinking, creativity, communication, collaboration. And this is what I focus on. And I go to the grassroots, I go to schools, I invite school children to come to Imperial College, and we teach them these, we get them to think between each other, bring their own knowledge to the table without calculator, without phone, without nothing. Just come and talk and give them a task to do, let them be creative, and then communicate that solution among themselves, and then collaborate, because it's all about teamwork. I'm currently in Oxford University teaching 16, 17 years old students who are preparing for their A-levels. And I'm teaching them how to do things collaboratively, how to think outside the box, how to learn their subject without cramming, actually learning it properly and learning it as if they're eating with their eyes closed. When you close your eyes and you add your finger in your mouth, you can never miss it because you've done it so many times. And those are the skills I'm giving them. So one should be able to think critically, to be creative, work in partnership, and then communicate that. We call it the 4 C's. Myself and Rudy come up with that. We call it the 4 C's in our job, in our profession, in our education. That is just more of the full definition of all these things. So critical thinking, looking at the way we reflect, we analyze things, how you claim and believe, and you draw a conclusion from the discussion between more than two people. And then 21st century learning has changed so much, and it's still changing. In a classroom in 20 years ago, changed. This is a classroom now. Their iPad, reading, communicating, doing things, rather than 300 or 200 students in one classroom, and the teacher stands up to basically, transfer the information to the student, and the student would then cram the information, and then 6 months' time, they give it back to the teacher to assess them. So 21st century education is changing, where is here to change for a long time. So this slide just comparing the 20th century with the 21st century. As you could see, many years ago, we all learned to adapt to using the computer revolution. Now it's a smartphone revolution. Things are taking place. You could do so much on your smartphones now that it's amazing what you could do. What we're doing now, we wouldn't think about this 10, 15 years ago, that we could see each other or on our phone or on our iPad and be communicating the way we're communicating. So 21st century is very important, and it's good for our eyes to be able to do this thing. So the work of the Commonwealth Future is amazing, and the work that Rudin is doing is also amazing. This is just some pictures of my student at Imperial College, where we teach them in a classroom to build things with a straw or wood, and then they go on site and actually build the real thing on real life. Again, communication, collaboration is the basis of all these things they're doing. And the earlier we start to teach our children or our students how to do this, is better. It's a better thing to do. And you can see this also linked with the sustainable development goals of the world, which is goal 4, ensuring inclusive and quality education, and goal 8, promoting sustainable, inclusive, and sustainable economy. When people are educated, when people can read, the economy develop, their surrounding develop, their community develop. So these are all the things we have to start putting in place to make sure the world becomes a better place. And to do this, we need stakeholders. Like the meeting we're having now, this is a stakeholder point that we're making here, that what do we need to look at, what we need to see. So you could see the school could involve the college, could involve in reform and expansion of these skills to our students. Don't just teach them math or any other subject. Teach them how to talk to each other. Teach them how to respect each other. Teach them how to collaborate with each other. And then federal government, state government, country government, head of state, they need to pull their weight to be able to support this, to make sure people can read and people can aspire, and then with that, they can develop. When they got the education, they can develop themselves. The government doesn't have to really do much for the people to get up and do things for themselves, for industry to develop, for state to develop. And as you said, the last one there, no nation can develop economically without investing in engineering education. Actually, it should be STEM education. So I'm an engineer, so that's what the word engineering crafting in there. And 21st century is a growing thing. We cannot stop it. It's just growing so fast. So many things going on in the world now. Look at COVID, for example. Without the people who are experts in STEM, we will not find the vaccine for COVID. It will take us years. I mean, there have been viruses in the past where there was no vaccine found. People just developed this herd immunity after so many people died. But now we've been able to do it. We've been able to curb that. So thanks to STEM education, one of the things I do, which I get used to get my medical friend very excited, I would say is that an engineer saved my life than medical doctors. But you can see they're not just an engineer. A lawyer will increase their salary because of crime and litigation, which we don't want. A medical doctor will increase because of disease and illness. But engineers increase because of prosperity of the nation and of the people. So for me, I'm very proud to be an engineer, and I'm very proud to be involved in STEM education. So you can see there are things we could do, like this meeting we're having today, talking about it, and we could encourage people to learn to read, It's a big problem in third world country, actually, for children to be able to read. It's a big problem, not just because the facility is not there, but also because even the teachers teaching them also haven't learned how to read and transfer that skill to other people. So we need to go right down to the grassroots and be able to read, be able to see and read and communicate. You will narrow the gap between education system and employment, and you will create competent people that can be self-reliant on themselves, on the ability they develop, and create an amazing opportunity for country and to reduce poverty generally. Click every single button in the sustainable development goal, because it all requires people to be able to express themselves, able to see, able to talk and all that. So thank you very much for inviting me. So I do agree with you, reading to our EYECARE is a very important thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sunday, for proving and showing us that critical thinking, critical analysis, critical reading improves the human condition. Thank you. Our next distinguished speaker is Professor Wilson. Professor James was appointed by Aston University in 2000. He's now Associate Pro Vice Chancellor. James has published over 215 peer-reviewed academic papers and given numerous international presentations, and is a harmonizer. Thank you, Professor James.
Thank you very much, Sima. Thank you for the invitation to speak to you now. About a decade ago, I was dressed in red and purple as one of the medical team of the 2012 Olympic Games. As part of that, we were working with a spectrum of people who'd come together to inspire us by their sport, and people who wanted to support their country and country people. And part of that was my specialism around contact lenses, which help, of course, enormously in sport because of the field of vision that they give people, clear refractive correction without the danger of glasses being broken or damaging the eyes, and also a really important part of self-esteem. So why do I mention this? Because, of course, in 2022, we will be with the Commonwealth Games, and the Commonwealth Games will come together as a community again to support each other in terms of what they do. And I will be part of that and running particularly the anterior eye care, looking after the vision of these people who have come together at the top of their game, but often without access to good eye care and eye care practitioners. Her Excellency Jemima Agre Agupu mentioned about dry eye, a particularly important disease, very debilitating chronic disease that particularly affects women. And also, as mentioned by Dr. Sunday Polaola, the digital world we now live in is a real challenge in terms of our eyes, our eye health, and again, tying into dry eye. The other really important aspect of this, which often affects women more with certain conditions, is visual impairment. And it's great to see with the Commonwealth Games that the para and the healthy athletes will compete in the same organisation and the same days. So you can attend events, as we will be doing, where we will have the para sport and the healthy vision sport in the same events. So it's really important that we pull together as a Commonwealth to support one another. And by doing that, we will enable people to have good, healthy vision, to support them in terms of their learning, in terms of their ability to work and contribute back to their communities, and to have healthy aging. So thank you again for the invitation to speak to you today. And I really applaud this organisation's vision, to excuse the pun, in terms of supporting the health and well-being of the Commonwealth.
Thank you very much, Professor James, and thanks for emphasising the importance of the Commonwealth Games next year. We're really looking forward to that important event. Professor John Marshall, MB, who's Emeritus Professor of Ophthalmology at King's College London, and is a Professor also of Ophthalmology at the Institute of Ophthalmology in association with Moorfields Eye Hospital, University College London, is now going to speak. He has been consistently voted into the ophthalmologist power list of the most influential people in the world of ophthalmology, and is the only scientist. He invented the laser for the correction of eye defects. I have the privilege of introducing Professor John Marshall, MBE.
Thank you very much, Emma, and thank you very much for inviting me and allowing me to hear a number of didactic lectures. I'd like to pick on several things. I'm dressed like I am because this morning I went to a funeral of one of the most amazing women in ophthalmology, Professor EYECARE. She started life as a countess as a child in Hungary. She was then, because being Jewish, persecuted by the Nazis when they came into Hungary. She then had the problems of the Russians, who were almost as bad. She managed to escape with Russian bullets coming over her head to England. And in 1949, she started training as a nurse. Eva was very, very outspoken, decided that most doctors weren't nearly as bright as she was. And having won all the awards in nursing school, she trained as a doctor and then became very interested in diabetes. And she became the first medical ophthalmologist, because most ophthalmologists were surgical. So here's a woman that's gone through an enormous amount of trauma in her early life, but amazing perseverance, huge intellect, and has changed dramatically the field and introduced a treatment using lasers for diabetes, which stops millions of people going blind. Now, Eva started a revolution, and in my lifetime, I've seen a shift from men to women in research laboratories. And another individual I should speak about is Professor Tara Moore at Ulster, who is a real rising star in gene therapy and has worked on a device which means that she will almost certainly be able to address some conditions by using eye drops. Now, why have I picked on these two women? Well, innovators push things forward, and they push things forward on a worldwide basis. Most people in this country will have heard of Harold Ridley, who designed the intraocular lens, but virtually no one knows that Harold Ridley did an enormous amount of work on river blindness and made major contributions, indeed changed the drug therapy for river blindness. And today we're seeing more and more multidisciplinary individuals. In optometry, we see now a predominant shift from what's called pale, male, and stale to a huge new population of Asian females who now form the major part of the practicing body for eye care in optometric outlets in UK. Major advances in the eye world are led at interfaces, and as Sunday said, he's proud to be an engineer. Well, I'm not an engineer, but I also trained as a physicist, and I had the original patents for getting rid of eyeglasses. And now more than 62 million people around the world have had that treatment. It's not only confined to the more developed countries, because already charities are moving into other countries. And I give an example outside the Commonwealth, but in Tibet, we now have charity clinics doing laser eye surgery in order to save funds, i.e. not to keep having to replace spectacles that the farmer has scratched or broken, a one-off treatment which lasts most people for 25, 30 years. Now, everybody has become aware of engineering and the influence of engineering and computers in medicine. And now we're already seeing what I hate is called artificial intelligence. I think that's what I have. But artificial intelligence means that we can actually develop machines to diagnose eye problems. And we're already beginning to see this both in terms of diabetic retinopathy and age-related macular degeneration. And not only have we now seen machines creeping in, which in fact save money and costs and speed up diagnosis, but we're also beginning to see robotics. The eye is a perfect sphere almost, so it's very easy to design a robotic instrument to move around the eye. And again, we're beginning to see robotic surgery for cataracts. So the point I'm trying to make with all this is that things are moving forward in the world as a whole. Gender discrimination has, thank goodness, for the most part disappeared, and now women are in the ascent. And we will see a huge impact worldwide. The biggest problems we have at the moment as an inventor and entrepreneur is the amount of time it takes for a laboratory idea to move through various processes, clinical trials, and then regulatory approval. It amazed me that my laser took 10 years to go from one end to the other, and several other techniques I've developed have taken equal length of time. Yet think of last year when we had COVID, a completely non-existent vaccine portfolio that went through the regulators in less than a year. So at last they're beginning to look at progress, not process. And what we need with this whole concept is mechanisms for disseminating new products, new treatments around the Commonwealth. And Zimar and his committee are working on this diligently. And I've tried, help in my little way, but I do think that just as we are now praying for dissemination of vaccine to countries that really can't afford them, we will see greater dissemination of advances in eye surgery and begin to see a revolution in which people in underdeveloped countries don't go blind for the sake of no diagnosis or no ability to avail themselves of treatment. Thank you for letting me make these comments to you.
Thank you very much, Professor John, for informing us how innovators are shaping the future and how women are pushing the boundaries of science forward, and of course, including yourself too. I would now like to welcome Ms. Graham Robertson, International Ambassador of Commonwealth Future, to give our personal thanks and conclude the session.
Thank you so much, Zimar. As some of you know now, I try to wrap up these events with a little bit of encouragement for all of us to pass on some of the messages we've heard today. And I wanted to pick up on Dr. Marina's storytelling word. It really hit home today that the way we get these messages across to the people that we know, we are all influencers to some degree. We might not be YouTube stars and have millions of followers, but we all know people that know people that know people. And we need to get this message out to the policymakers, the politicians, and other influencers about the importance of the stories that we've heard today. And stories make us remember, and it can be John's story about a moment, an invention, an idea, or James's stories that we've heard today on how athletes have been helped and other people. The main message is how important EYECARE is, and we have to encourage these people in our surroundings. And it doesn't matter if it's a friend at an event that we network at, or it's somebody that we happen to meet who is an industry leader or a world leader at a spur of a moment. So can I ask everybody to take away some of the stories you've heard today, pass them on to your friends, family, and the people that you meet from time to time on the importance of EYECARE and the things that can be done throughout the Commonwealth. Tell them a little bit about Commonwealth Future if you can, and tell them what we're trying to do. We're all very proud of what we're doing within Commonwealth Future. And I really thank all of our speakers tonight for joining us. It's never fails to amaze me how interesting it all is, hearing all of your viewpoints, all of your experiences. And I hope our audience on Facebook streaming have enjoyed it as well, and the ones who watch this afterwards. So thank you all so much. We do try to keep these things to an hour. I will leave you. We're going to be trying to do a few events during next year's Commonwealth Games. We have a close link with Aston University on our within Commonwealth Future, so we'll be working closely with the university to try and do some events. Please look out. I hope you don't mind us sending you the occasional email about these events, and we will do that. And it's a pleasure hearing from all of you, meeting all of you, and I only hope that I can meet some of you in person in the not too distant future. Thank you all so much. We genuinely appreciate all that you do for us to join us. So thank you all. Goodbye, everybody.